with that being said, let's get our second acceleration here. Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's video, we're gonna be going over a 2022 Kia Stinger GT2 in an all-new color called Ascot Green. But first and foremost, a huge shout out and thank you to the Jerry Steiner Kia here in South Salt Lake for giving me some time with the new Stinger. Check out their inventory link below. Let's get straight into the video. Under the hood of the updated Stinger, we still have a twin-turbo 3.3-liter V6 that goes through an 8-speed automatic transmission. Fuel economy is 17 around town and then 24 on the highway. Now, power outputs are 368 horsepower and 376 pound-feet of torque, so you get 3 more horsepower. Going over the front end, you guys can probably notice one big change, but before we go over that, you still get the cool little venting here on the hood. Is it functional? No. But does it look cool? Yes, and that's all that matters. Coming down, they have changed the Kia logo for 2022. I definitely like this stylized logo. It's very, very unique in the car industry. And then you still have the full LED lights with the LED accent lights. Really cool venting down here and then all across the front. And then also you've got the sensor there that's kind of integrated into the rest of the grille with a little camera there on the side. But yeah, overall, I mean, the Stinger looks similar on the front end, but the logo's different. Now coming on the side, we've got two 25mm tires wrapped around 19-inch wheels in the front, and then the rear still has 19-inch wheels, but it's 255mm for the tire width. And then you still get the Brembo brakes in red here with the GT2, which I just think looks absolutely fantastic, and it contrasts nicely to the Ascot green of this particular GT2. And then you still get the venting there on the side. I love the accent here with the mirror, just how that looks, like the chrome finish, I think just looks fantastic. And yeah, other than that, here's kind of like your full side view, and look at like the design with the brakes and the wheels and the chrome on the mirrors. Like overall, it just looks amazing. Now popping here into the back of the Stinger, it's still just as practical as it always has been. Tons of storage space here in the rear, and again, it is a hatch, so yeah, just really solid with all of that. And I'm sure you guys don't really care because you've seen this a million times, so well, so yeah. Now let's finish things up with the rest of the rear of the Stinger. So first off, you guys notice there's a light bar here in the back of the 2022 Stinger. You've got all your normal badges, parking sensors just down below, and then notice the size of the exhaust tips. Again, I'm actually gonna get a side-by-side comparison with this versus a 21, but these exhaust tips, I mean, I can fit my whole fist, well, at least in the covering itself. Diffuser there at the bottom, and yeah, that's the back of the Stinger. Now here's the door panel on the back of the new Stinger. So notice you've got this beautiful leather all the way down the whole door panel with nice stitching all throughout, and then you've got more leather where you're actually gonna rest your arm. I love the style here of the speakers as well. And then here are the seats in the back of the GT2. So full leather, got the perforated leather here in the center, which is actually really soft to the touch. And well, let's see how my butt likes it. So stepping in, it's pretty easy to get in, and I'm 5'11" if you guys are wondering. I can't talk today. I still have some headroom sitting all the way up, and then legroom is pretty decent on top of that. Got some vents back here, got a 12-volt little USB, and yes, these seats are comfortable to sit in. I really like them. Some cup holders, and that's the back of the GT2. Now coming to the door panel here in the front, notice that it's pretty much identical to the door panel in the rear. The only difference is your normal window controls and then the buttons for the mirrors, and yes, they do fold in. And then the memory seat controls up here. I really like the trim right there. And then again, got some speakers for this, well, a bunch of speakers here for the sound system. And then here's the seats at the front. So again, full leather. The bolsters on the seats are very large, perforated leather in the center. Then you got your adjustments there on the side of the seat. And then here's the pedal layout just down below. And then notice you've got your lane departure assistance. You've got this for the gas, that for the rear hatch. The steering wheel is automatically adjustable. And there's one more look before we actually pop in. Here's the steering wheel in the Stinger. So you've got the soft touch leather at the top and at the bottom, then perforated leather here on the side. I really like the feel of the paddles on the back of the steering wheel. And then you've got your stuff like your lane departure assistance, your adaptive cruise control. This is for the pages for the center, the new stylized Kia logo. And then over here you've got your voice command and volume controls. Little stock there for the turn signal / lights, windshield wiper stock on the other side, and that is this steering wheel. So you still have the analog gauges on either side, and then you do have that screen there in the center which shows you the speed. I like the little gauges right there. It shows you like the boost PSI, but yeah, pretty normal stuff. And then we do have the drive modes, which will pop up here. So you've got your sport, your custom, and then you can pop back up and you've got your smart and your eco. And yes, we will drive it in sport mode today, which it tightens the bolsters around you when you go into sport mode, which is kind of funny. And then you go in comfort, it like loosens the bolsters. I'm serious, let me show you guys. Comfort. Sport. Now here's the center infotainment system. First off, if we pop it into reverse, you've got the backup camera with the bird's eye view. And by the way, you can zoom in or out with the bird's eye view. And then the trajectory lines do turn with the steering wheel on both of the camera views. And then notice that you've got some other viewpoints out of the Stinger, which I think is great. This is a little bit of a longer car, so it's nice that they have so many different viewpoints out of the camera to help out with parking and all that. And if we go into drive, notice that the front camera pops on. So if you go from reverse to drive, it'll go from backup camera to front camera and then still give you that bird's eye view to make parking easier. Now, as for the rest of the screen, response time is really good for the touchscreen, but the most important part, it does have the sounds of nature, as you can see. But yeah, it's just a really good infotainment system. I feel like it's nicely integrated here into the whole dash area, and well, that's all for that. Got all of our circular vents here in the center with the stitching and the leather kind of all around it. And then down here, you've got some analog controls for the infotainment system. And by the way, all the buttons and dials and everything just feel really nice, the actuation on them. And then you've got the climate controls down here in this little area. Dual zone climate here in the Stinger. And then you've got your kind of charging station is what I want to call it. You've got some USBs, 12 volt, and then your wireless phone charger, but you can just cover that up if you don't like it for some reason. And then we do have the shifter for the 8-speed automatic, which is pretty easy to use. You've got reverse that way, drive that way, push in for park. Couple of cup holders with the old Stinger key, by the way. And then you've got some drive mode select right here. You've got the auto hold, your stability control, and that's the parking brake right next to it. And then with the seats and everything here, this is a pretty interesting section. So you go down for the cooled seats, and then you go up for the heated seats, and you got blue for cool and red for hot. I think that's pretty neat. Heated steering wheel, you've got your parking sensors, and then this is for the camera. Basically, that'll just turn the camera on or off there in the center screen, but that's that whole like section. Center console here in the Stinger, so you've got storage space in front of it, and then you've got the storage space inside of it. And then again, notice all the nice leather here in the dash, and then opening up the glove box. It's actually lined with felt, which is another nice little touch. But I definitely like the style here on the interior and how it all kind of comes together. Up top here, we do get a sunroof, and it is an automatic shade for the roof, so you just press that little button right there. I don't want to open it up because then the camera's gonna be overwhelmed with light. But yeah, you get that whole thing up there, full black headliner, which matches the rest of the car. Now that we're done going over the interior on the Stinger GT2, let's quickly get into pricing. So in terms of pricing, this Stinger GT2 stickers for about $54,700. That all being said, let's take her out and see how she drives. Well, let's talk about visibility here in the 2022 Stinger before we set off. So visibility over the hood, super solid. I love the heads-up display. And there's your visibility through both of the mirrors. They do have blind spot monitoring. And then here's throughout the rest of the rear. So from a visibility standpoint, even though this is kind of a refreshed version of the Stinger, it hasn't really changed. And that all being said, let's set off. So we are setting off here in the 2022 Kia Stinger GT2, and oh, it's got the, look at that. It's got the turn signal camera. Did not notice that when I was doing the walk around. Maybe I should be a better car reviewer, but let's get up and go here in the GT2. So first off, I'm driving this directly back to back with a 21. So you guys are gonna hear a lot of comparisons if this is the review on the 22, because I'm also using this video to do the driving comparison with this versus the 21. But first off, ride quality feels just like any other Stinger. It's still smooth, very composed. I love that freaking turn signal camera. It's such a nice little feature to have, just so that you have that nice little, obviously it's a blind spot camera, especially on the interstate, like that is huge. But yeah, it feels just like any other Stinger from a ride quality perspective. And we'll kind of see it going over these bumps and everything. Yeah, it's just as composed. I really can't perceive too much of a difference from a driving perspective. The steering does feel a little bit heavier though. I am noticing that. I don't know if that was intentional or not, but I definitely do feel a little bit more weight with the steering. I've got a train coming up here, so I'll get back to you guys in just a moment. And by the way, popping it into the sport mode, so the bolsters are tight now. Well, the train finally went by, so we have gotten past the little train section. We're going over the tracks right now. Yeah, it feels just like the 21 from the suspension and all that. Nothing really feels different from what I can perceive. The one thing is different is the shifter doesn't have a manual mode button, so you just have to press the paddle to go into the manual mode from my perspective, and then you hold the plus paddle to go back into automatic. Yeah, transmission seems just as responsive, and we'll get our little acceleration here. I think it might be louder. It feels just as quick. Doesn't feel any faster. Feels just as quick, but I think it might be louder. I heard a little bit more induction noise than I did with the 21, which is interesting. I mean, I'm not complaining. It's a nice noise out of the twin turbo 3.3 liter V6. And yeah, going over this little rough road here. Again, it feels pretty much the same, so it's smooth. The car doesn't get upset. The back end doesn't bounce all over the place, which is something that you want in a performance luxury sedan so that you can have some fun performance driving. Brakes are still just as solid. Yeah, it really seems like this was more of kind of an aesthetic change than it was really a driving change with the car. It's kind of like, okay, we're going to put the newer infotainment system in. We're going to make it look prettier on the outside, but the fundamentals of the car are pretty much unchanged. And so, I mean, I don't think that's a bad thing. I know some people might see that as a bad thing. I personally don't. And the reason that I don't see that as a bad thing is this car is just such a good car right out of the box. They didn't really need to change a whole lot with the Stinger. And with that being said, let's get our second acceleration here. Definitely louder. Definitely louder. It sounds better than the 21. It definitely sounds better than the 21. That is so fast. It's crazy how fast the Stingers are. Can I perceive the extra 3 horsepower? No. It does feel faster though because it's louder. That's anytime you make a car louder, it automatically makes it feel faster. And so even though this isn't actually faster, it sounds faster. So that's all that matters. Doesn't matter how fast you are, it matters how fast you sound. But let's get into selling things up here with the 2022. So I still think the Stinger looks great. There's not a ton of them on the road, and so it's still a very unique car, still has some road presence to it. It definitely, again, it definitely looks really nice. I definitely like this newer Kia badge. The older one, I don't have any gripes with it, but this new one kind of, I mean, people are going to look at the car and they're going to be like, wait, what is that? And I mean, yeah, you can read that it says Kia, but it's so stylized that some people might be like, whoa, is that a new brand? Or, you know what I mean? It might throw some people off, and I think that'd be pretty cool. The interior is great. I love this GT2 package. The seats are very comfortable, definitely more comfortable than the GT1 seats. I will say that. These seats are just softer, a little bit more supportive for my old man back from all the weightlifting I do. But yeah, as an overall package, I think that the Stinger is still great. I like the subtle updates that they did to the car. I think it works. And so yeah, if you're looking at buying a new Stinger, I would check out the new 2022. It's definitely worth it. Yes, it does drive the same. However, even though it drives the same, you do get some more cool tech. The interior is a little bit nicer infotainment system, all that kind of stuff. And yeah, that's the 2022 Stinger GT2.